Disclaimer. All themes of assassination, death, and violence in this podcast episode are meant for comedic and entertainment purposes only. Alternative Jargon believes in listening to and allowing all political beliefs to be heard and does not support any means to silence them, such as censorship, arguments about golf, and blowing the head off of those you disagree with. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Alternative Jargon episode number 52. It is a cold, cool, dreary, gray, rainy afternoon today. It's about mid-60s. There is a light shower, completely overcast, beautiful fall weather, and it is the perfect day to talk about sexual abuse, assassination, blackmail, etc., etc. Not that there's ever a bad day to tackle those topics, but a day like this is just especially beautiful to tackle such miserable topics. So we have a lot to cover today. I'm going to still try to keep it within a half hour or so, because, everyone's fried in the brain these days, right? Let's make it quick. The first thing that I want to cover today is Diddy. Now, this is a topic that has quickly reached the mainstream, narrative space, whatever you want to call it. It's out there now. There's no silencing it if there was going to be an attempt to. This is a really crazy situation with Sean P. Diddy Combs, and I'll be honest, when I first heard about all this coming out a few months ago, I did honestly sort of downplay a little bit in my head. I did downplay it, and I wasn't really paying too much attention to it. I think some of the first stuff to come out about it was just about Diddy and Meek Mill, and are they homosexual, are they gay, whatever that was. That was kind of the first, that was when the Titanic struck the iceberg, and everyone, including myself, or maybe it was just me, was kind of just like, all right, we got a little scratch. So what? Somebody's gay, who cares? But I guess my other thought process, too, if I heard more stuff about the Diddy situation, was that he's sort of too mainstream and too known to be a kingpin in another trafficking or sexual abuse ring. This is a guy who everyone knows who he is, very popular. The last time we uncovered a ring like this, whatever you want to call it, no one had really ever heard of the guy before. Before Jeff Epstein was imprisoned and killed or aided to escape, whatever truly happened to Jeff, no one heard the guy's name before. Unless you were an avid news reader, unless you were Alex Jones himself, unless you were somebody who keeps a list of the banned people from Mar-a-Lago, you probably had never, ever heard of Jeff Epstein. And I sort of in my head just assumed that everybody who is involved in things like this kind of just stays behind the scenes. And that's exactly what Epstein was. Unless you were literally flying to his island and you were a patron of his, you probably had never seen or heard of the guy in your whole life. And that's, in my eyes, that's how you would probably want to be if you were an international kingpin of a pedophile ring. You don't really want to have your face out there, I wouldn't think. You probably wouldn't have a podcast. You probably wouldn't post videos of you with the hottest stars in the world and throw big parties for the hottest stars in the world. But I gotta say, Diddy really threw us a curveball here. He threw me a curveball, because he is one of the most high-profile celebrities of the last 20 years in this country, and it just so seems that he is indeed another leader of a similar type ring. I'm not going to go as far to say that Diddy is up there with Epstein yet, but he is of a very similar ilk as Epstein. I think you could agree with that. I haven't read everything up on Diddy. I mean, a lot of it's still coming out right now. Every day I see a new Easter egg, a new little DLC drop of some new crimes. A new bottle of baby oil appears somewhere. There's a lot of new stuff still coming out. This is very fresh. This is going to be in the works, in the process of coming to the bottom of it for many months, possibly years. I mean, Epstein was killed over 5 years ago, and we still have not gotten anything out of that. I guess Ghislaine Maxwell went to jail. She hasn't said anything. Who knows if she's a real person? Who knows if she's in jail? Who knows if she's alive? We don't know anything about any of these people. We don't know who was at the island still. And I know that's such a dead horse point. I think if you are a human being who has a podcast, you have to say the word Epstein about every other episode or it'll get taken off the air. It just seems like a requirement. But look, the horse is not yet dead. I don't consider this beating a dead horse. I consider it beating a horse that is very much alive. And, I don't know how we bring out the bigger guns. I wish we could shoot the horse. I am not a gun owner at this point in my life. I don't have a gun to shoot the horse with. So I'm just going to keep beating it along with the rest of the world, I guess. That's really our only option here. But where was I? Yeah, I'm not going to put him up there with Epstein yet because I don't know if there's anything about kids involved yet. Obviously, it's bad enough to be a sexual assaulter, to be a sexual abuser, to be a rapist, whatever was happening. But it's a billion times worse if it's with kids, and everyone knows that. And Epstein, as we all know, was with kids. So hopefully, for the love of God, hopefully it doesn't come out that Diddy involved children and underage people in whatever the heck he was doing. Hopefully that is not the case. But I guess we will just wait and see. We will wait and see what comes out. We will wait and see if Diddy is found dead in 48 hours, if he's shot in the face, if he somehow finds a way to commit suicide with a 50 caliber sniper rifle that's like 6 feet long, where if you put the barrel in your mouth and try to pull the trigger, you'd have to have like a 10-foot wingspan. We'll see if something like that happens. It's going to be interesting that we've been down this path before in terms of illegal criminal sex rings, but this is kind of the untrodden path thus far. This guy's very high profile. He's very much more in the public eye than Epstein ever was, probably 100-fold. And this is new. This is fresh. And it's I'm glad this is coming out because not only is it exposing crime, but I feel like a lot of the narratives we have now have already been done. It's not too often now that we have new things coming out, but the two things I'm going to talk about today, I mean, sex rings and assassination attempts, those are very fresh and those are very interesting. And although they're paths that we have been down before, both of them are pretty unique. We've had people shoot at presidents before. We've had pedophiles before. But these are two very unique cases, I think. It is definitely going to be interesting to see how many people Diddy has dirt on. There's a few obvious guesses. People like Jay-Z, J-Lo, people like that are pretty obvious, and I think everyone sort of knows that those people are probably involved. But who really knows who else is involved in this? There's a long-running joke of it'll be a post about anything, and people will comment, how do you think this is going to affect LeBron's legacy? Like, I hope this doesn't hurt LeBron's legacy. Those are always jokes. But now you're seeing comments under Diddy posts that go, okay, will this actually hurt LeBron's legacy? This Diddy thing could potentially bring people into the criminal pedophile sphere that you would have never, ever, ever guessed. And I'm not going to jump to any conclusions and say any names, but LeBron James is, and I'm not saying LeBron's guilty, that's not what I'm doing, but somebody like that, 99% of people would never even take a shot in the dark to say, yeah, dude, I'd be willing to bet LeBron James has done some really bad things. I have done a complete flip-flop on LeBron James during the course of me growing up. I used to hate the guy because he would just beat my teams every year. He went to 8 straight finals. But I think if you can put your basketball knowledge and maybe your political stance aside and just look at him as a guy, he's a pretty good guy. He's got a wife and kids. He's a good dad. He, of course, he has an ego. If you have been playing the highest level of basketball in the world for 20 years, you're going to have an ego too, all right? But really has done a good job, and it would be very unfortunate if something were to tarnish his reputation. Most of the stuff that tarnishes his reputation are completely, I just would say, reactionary political takes. It's really hard to actually critique LeBron James because he has had such a clean record, never has had a DUI or beat anybody up, or the things that all of these athletes love to do in their free time. Never had anything like that happen. So yeah, one thing I think is interesting to point out as well about Diddy, and this is something we also still don't know about Epstein, is was he a Fed? I think there's a very good chance that Epstein was a Fed or some type of agent with some 3-letter organization from some country. Who knows? But if I still believe in the American psyop industry, I think the best chances at Epstein was, if he was an agent, he was with America. Because we just do it best out of everybody. If you want to win a war, you call us. If you want to run a pedophile sex island, you probably call us too. That's just kind of how our country is. We usually do things at the highest level compared to other countries. We are sort of a go big or go home country. We're going to build the bomb, and it's going to be the biggest, and it's going to end the war. We're going to go take oil, and we're going to completely justify it. However we have to do stuff, however we have to get stuff done, we usually are the catalysts. We are the ones, the go-getters. So was Diddy a Fed? That's always a chance. Stuff like this is so complicated too, because if he was working for the government, for whatever reason, whatever intention they had with his work, we would never know. And it would take literally a revolution to find out something like that, because the second something like that is found out, it would really turn things upside down. The government knows that the people know that they do bad stuff, but unless they completely address it 100%, they know that it will be swept under the rug for 20 to 30 years, and then they can all come out and say, we knew our government did that, and we should have stopped it, and my opponent did not do anything to stop it 20 years ago, and I didn't either, but I came out and said it was wrong first. It's that type of thing. We are completely aware now that the Iraq War, probably not a good idea. We are completely aware now that the Vietnam War, probably not a good idea. There's so many things that it's like, yeah, our government is completely capable of committing travesties, and they are completely capable of doing this with the public knowledge of it happening, and we'll just sit on it for a couple decades until everyone forgets, and then come out and win political points when we say it was bad. And that's sort of how things operate. Now, I'm not saying everyone who goes and says the Iraq War was bad is responsible for the Iraq War. That's not what I'm saying at all. I am simply saying that's just how it usually goes down. That's how it usually works. So to say Diddy was or wasn't a Fed, at this point, purely speculative. We will wait and see what happens. But he is currently in prison in New York City. And does that story sound familiar to you guys? Wasn't somebody else locked up in NYC 5 years ago in August? And didn't something happen there? Yeah. Like I said, it's a trodden path, but slightly untrodden. Will we have another suicide in jail. We will see. We will see. Now, Hezbollah, I think I'm saying that right. Hezbollah. It's not Hezbollah. I wish I could talk about him. That'd be a lot more lighthearted of a subject. My favorite little Russian guy. But unfortunately, we have to talk about bombs and death and, But Hezbollah was blown up by Israel with pagers, beepers, whatever you want to call them. I wanted to really make this the sole topic of today's episode just so I could title it Page Against the Machine. But unfortunately, this happened last week and it's already sort of we would need a lot more mass death for this one to stay in the cycle, especially during an election year. Not enough death, not enough commotion. There weren't enough shocking photographs to come out of this one for it to really keep the presses fired up. So, Page Against the Machine will not be happening as today's episode title, but I always do like to slip a little pun in there, make it kind of fun. So, I don't have enough to say on this. Like I said, they already don't care. Nobody cares, and it happened 4 days ago. But yeah, I just hope that my phone has not been compromised by Israel. Look how close this is to my face right now. If Israel wanted me dead, man, it's over before it's over. I would definitely be in the casualty list if they wanted me to be. And I think that's safe to say. Because I am just breathing down the mic right now. And it'd be over. It'd be very much done. This just further kind of proves that if the right people want you dead, you're dead before you know it. So do with that what you will. You can't be too woke in today's society because you will die. You can't fight the system too hard because you will die. And I don't know anything about Hezbollah. I don't know if they're good or bad. Honestly, the Middle East is very complex. I sort of just read the stuff and I go, I am very blessed to not live there. And I'm not justifying either side. So, I hate having to say that after every joke, but the next thing I want to talk about, and this is a dark topic, no matter what side of the political aisle you're on, and it's the reason why I put the heavy disclaimer on this episode. I don't need any type of narrative getting out there that I support assassination or anything like that. Nothing close to that. But I'm curious if Trump is going to make it to Election Day. He has had 2 assassination attempts in the past 2 months, and this is extremely unheard of in our country in this day and age. Whenever you hear about a president getting shot at, you expect the footage to be in 4:3 aspect ratio with VHS scratch marks over the footage. You don't expect it to be in 4K, where you have pictures with the actual bullet whizzing by the president's head. So we now have 4K footage of attempted assassinations on our former commander-in-chief and potentially future commander-in-chief, and that is nuts. And I don't want to sound like a super MAGA person. I don't think saying this makes you a MAGA person. I think it makes you someone who is observant, but it does seem like if this was happening to anyone else, it would be the news story of the century. And I do feel like it's sort of been swept under the rug almost completely. And unfortunately, the people that continue to talk about it are some of the most annoying. That's just how things work in this partisan world we live in. But yeah, I don't think it's a pro-Trump statement to make either. It's just, in my opinion, a fact. Some people believe that it's being swept under the rug by the fake news media, who is biased against the greatest president we've ever seen, frankly. And other people are cheering assassins on as they do their work. Some people are so sick of Trump that they don't care why he's in the headlines. They just don't want to see it or hear it anymore. I'll say this, though. Trump has been an absolute blessing to every major media outlet that covers news in this country. He has blessed them with billions of dollars of coverage over the last 9 years. If it wasn't for this guy, we might have only half of the news organizations that we currently have in this country. And I don't know if that is even an overstatement to make. If one day it came out, decades down the line from now, that Donald Trump was just an asset, not of the Russian government, not of the far right, but of CNN and Fox, I would not really be all that caught off guard. I wouldn't be that surprised. It would make more sense to me that, and by the way, this is all just BS, but I'm just saying, it would make more sense to me that a guy is hired to always have his name in the news and print money for these huge companies than it would for Vlad Putin to handpick an American president. I think one is more likely than the other. So I'm just saying, I wouldn't even be surprised. And frankly, that would be kind of awesome. Not awesome, it'd be totally scary and not good, but also kind of funny. Kind of funny. Yeah. Killing a politician, I feel like, is almost never worth it. It usually only makes them more popular. If Trump were to be assassinated, there might be a second civil war. If Trump were to be assassinated, it would just create so much danger, so much more unnecessary danger than if the guy was left alive. He was president for 4 years ago, and things are largely the same. And before I get banned and thrown in Guantanamo Bay for saying it's almost never worth it to kill a politician, the only cases that are really acceptable in my eye are if it's someone like Hitler. I don't think there's a very strong case to be made up about, we need to keep Hitler alive. Like, we can't kill him. Fortunately, we never even had to have that conversation because he shot himself and he gave his own family cyanide. So he really did clear that one up pretty nicely. It's a good thing we never did shoot Hitler because honestly, there probably would have been a lot of backlash. It was important for the German people to see and know, yeah, dude, your God just put a bullet in his own head. It wasn't the enemy. It wasn't the Jews. It was himself. So, the Germans were already screwed by the end of World War II, but they were the Germans. They were absolutely insane. So it's a good thing that I think Hitler died by his own hand because we might have had more unnecessary casualties if we shot him instead of himself, I think. But, yeah, one thing I will say about this is if Trump continues to have threats on his life up until Election Day or even after, depending on the result, it's really going to dilute the assassination market. We've had this happen twice, and I think people are already getting sick of it. The writers need to come up with something else, something new, something fresh. When is the season finale? There's got to be a breaking point of this sometime. I guess that would be Election Day is the season finale. But really diluting the market. Whenever the first attempt happened on July 13th, everyone was completely shocked. It was one of the most shocking days around the discourse with everyone, friends, family, haters of Trump, lovers of Trump, neutrals. Everyone was kind of like, wow, that actually happened. Usually our politics in America are so much talk, so little action, so much gridlock, not enough movement, that nothing really happens. It seems like, what's big stuff that happened in the last 20 years? We got COVID, we got 9/11, and then, I don't know. there's someone shooting at the president, you can mark that on a calendar and be like, that's a big thing. So definitely a big thing. But then by the second one, just last week or whatever, everyone's already sick of it, which is crazy. And I think that sort of is wild. That's sort of wild. Yeah. So so far with the 2 assassination attempts. Now, on this second one, I don't think the guy actually fired at Trump. From what I've heard, and I could be wrong, from what I've heard, the guy was kind of like sitting in a bush on the golf course, and then the Secret Service saw him and kind of just chased him. I don't know. I think he was armed, but I don't think he took a shot. But nonetheless, if you're sitting in a bush watching the president play golf with a gun, I think we all know your motives. I don't think you're there to sign your MAGA hat. I don't think you're there to get your letters from Trump book that you got at Barnes & Noble yesterday signed with a metallic Sharpie. I think you're probably there to kill the guy. So, and once again, somebody trying to kill the president turns into a partisan issue. What was his voter registration status? Who did he vote for? Who did he give money to? This just proves that you guys, it's just another exhausting point to get a soundbite at a debate or something. That's all it ever is. So, yeah. I mean, the good news is that I think it is a good thing that we live in a country where this stuff is completely abnormal, for the most part. Other countries are not so lucky. Other people are not so lucky. If their president is shot at, they're just kind of like, Tuesday. It's what happens when we get a ration of bread and a gallon of water per week for our household of 8. So we do live in a country where, although we love to complain about the way we live, it's important that we are allowed to complain about the way we live. And having someone shoot at people, our leaders, is unheard of, and that's a good thing. All right, that's a good thing. But yeah, so far they've gone with the pretty standard form of killing, and that's with guns. It'll be interesting to see if anyone else comes out of the woodworks to try to get him and use a method that is new. Use a fresh method. After surviving 18 attempts on his life, Donald Trump has made it to Election Day. And oh my God, it's Mike Pence with a steel chair! Mr. January 6th Stopper himself! Oh my God! It would be unfortunate for, Trump to die by Mike Pence's hand with a steel chair. Obviously, that would be insane. But it would be a little bit poetic. I remember when he first launched his campaign. Donald Trump is the guy from WWE. He can't run the country. It would be pretty funny if Donald Trump's election campaign came to an end on, Monday Night Raw. That'd be pretty hilarious. But yeah, not much would really come as a shock anymore. There's a lot of ways to kill someone. So far, they have they're 0 for 2 on probably the easiest way to kill someone, which is with a gun. You just aim it and you point and you shoot. Sure, it takes some skill to aim a gun, but it takes a lot less skill to do that than it does to have some big elaborate plan, I think, to kill the guy. But a lot of people, I've heard a decent amount of people, I wouldn't say this is a main opinion or main narrative, but I have seen people say they don't think he's going to be alive by Election Day. And I'm not really sure what to think of that, but the guy has to be paranoid at this point. Whether you are a person, whatever side you're on, whether it's, dude, Trump isn't even phased, bro. He has balls of steel, man. Did you see that video he put up with, Logan Paul? He's not even phased. Whether you're on that side or you're on the side of, Trump is, low-key a pansy, bro. Like, he's so weak. Look at his male fragility. Whatever side you're on, he's got to be paranoid at this point. I don't care how brave you are, how desensitized you are, how many Diet Cokes you've had today. When he hears a leaf fall off of a tree behind him on the back nine, he's got to be thinking now. He's got to be thinking. And that's not good, you know? That's not a fun way to live. And it's unfortunate that that is what probably this election has come to, our political process has come to. Violence and politics have always gone hand in hand. When there's a struggle for power, there's always going to be someone trying to kill someone doing this, doing that. But it's definitely not as rare as it used to be. And it is a bit barbaric, and it's unfortunate. No one on any side should have to worry about dying because of their political stance. And I don't think, I don't know. It's just not the way it should be in this country on either side. No one should shoot Trump. No one should shoot Kamala. No one should shoot Biden. You know? So, it stinks, but here we are. What are we going to do? You know, recently I've been thinking a lot about how, a lot of the struggles we have today, whether you're worried about how much your paycheck is going to your rent or your groceries, or you're worried about the culture that your child is going to grow up in. Every generation of humans that has ever lived has had their own unique struggle. A lot of them overlap because we are creatures of habit, and we do the same things over and over for thousands of years because we are just creatures that, we make decisions. But this is going to sound like I'm calling for a revolution. I'm not doing that. But I'm just saying, in your day-to-day life as a regular person, we all have struggles. And today, some of them are completely different than we have ever had before. Maybe you're worried about AI taking your job, but we do live in truly an unprecedented time. I hate that word because I've heard it 10 times since we had a pandemic, but it's an unprecedented time. But don't let them convince you that this is an unprecedented election. That's my least favorite term. This is the 2024 most unprecedented and most important election in history. Yeah, well, in 4 years, that one's going to be the most important. Every election, every 4 years is the most important. It's redundant to say so. The old ones don't matter. They're done. It's over. Of course, this one's the most important election. You don't look back at an election and go, the 2000 election, that was a good one. That was an important one. Let's bring Bush back, third term. This isn't a sporting event. It kind of is. It's a little bit of a sporting event. But you know what I mean? Of course, this is the most important election in history because it's the only one we got. The past is not a thing. You're not debating which Batman movie was the most influential to the survival of the character during the Marvel apocalypse. Like, that's not what... This isn't a superhero movie. This is the world. So yeah, we're going to have an election. And hopefully both candidates live to see November. And the fact that potentially me saying that could be a controversial take is insane. We should never normalize death to your political opponents on either side. Don't hold up a severed head of Trump. Don't threaten to kill Kamala. Don't send Biden death threats. Can we just get it? Just go vote and get it done. Just get it done. Can we get it done? Whatever. But yeah, anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up. Nice little chill day to discuss some chill topics. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.
We will leave you with I can't do it. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. fucking thing sucks!
Write that down, write that down!